Texas City, located on the Texas Gulf Coast, sits on the shore of Galveston Bay, near the Gulf of Mexico. The city in 1940 had a population of 5,687, but grew tremendously due to the wartime expansion of its chemical and petroleum industries. After World War II, the city reached a population of approximately 16,000. In the early morning of April 16, 1947, the SS Grand Camp, a recently reactivated French Liberty ship, was docked on the coast of Texas City. The crew was preparing to load ammonium nitrate, a volatile chemical compound used primarily in fertilizers, into the hold. In the early morning, crews spotted flames in the cargo hold of the SS Grand Camp. Futile attempts at dousing the growing flames led the captain to order the cargo hold be sealed off and filled with steam. Hope remained that the fire would be extinguished by the vapors. However, the opposite and far more drastic occurred. The mounting pressure caused by the heat suddenly overcame the 6-inch steel walls of the hold. The explosion sent a 15-foot tidal wave barreling toward hundreds of stunned onlookers. All buildings within the shockwave radius were demolished. Burning debris from the explosion flew at supersonic speeds in all directions, causing further destruction throughout the port. A local warehouse and a neighboring ship filled with ammonium nitrate and other incendiary chemicals were damaged by the flying debris and began to burn. Within hundreds of feet near the ship, 27 members of the heroic Texas City Volunteer Fire Department perished during their brave efforts to save others. The immediate evacuation of the docks and the crews of the surrounding ship was followed by a rescue team to locate any survivors that might be aboard the neighboring SS High Flyer. A call for help was sent out to all the neighboring fire departments, some as far away as Los Angeles, California. Some survivors, although young at the time, have the event forever burned in their memory. Eyewitness James Wallace remembers this as if it were just yesterday.
When I was 3 and a half, there was an explosion at Texas City. I lived in Pasadena, 30 miles away, and we could see the smoke from our house. My dad was in the Pasadena Volunteer Fire Department, and so my dad and several other men from the fire department went down to help out in Texas City. They had to drive in their own cars, and so my dad, he left me in the car. He parked it in the parking lot, which was strewn with hundreds of wrecked and burned cars, and left me there. But as we drove in, I saw all this devastation. And I thought it was the war.
Urgent reports of escalating fire by the rescue team aboard the SS High Flyer were ignored until it was too late. Unsuccessful efforts were made to relocate the ship to minimize the casualties of an imminent explosion. Soon after these failed attempts, the area was evacuated and the SS High Flyer detonated. As reported, the second explosion was more powerful than the first. Smoldering hunks of the ship, notably its propeller, and some of its cargo were launched into the city and surrounding ships. Refineries and chemical tanks along the coast were set ablaze by fiery bales of twine ejected from the ship's gaping hull.
There were train cars that were turned over, and some freight cars had giant holes, maybe 5 feet in diameter, blown through them. And everything was wrecked. Monsanto was burning, and the building was steel, but it was starting to sag. It was the worst thing I've ever seen.
Help from all over the country flooded the Galveston coastal area to battle the explosion and aid survivors. The extent of the damage was unimaginable. Over 500 homes were destroyed, and hundreds more damaged, leaving 2,000 homeless. The port and surrounding businesses were demolished, and uncountable cars and charred train cars littered the city. Over 5,000 people were injured in the explosions, and almost 2,000 were admitted to the surrounding hospitals.
As these people came in to help, they were directed to different duties. My dad his job was to go around and pick up pieces of people. And the second day, the people that were on that duty would just stand around and wait for the flies to light, and then they would go over and pick up parts of bodies.
The Texas City disaster of 1947 has been named the largest and most deadly non-nuclear industrial disaster in U.S. history, with fatalities reaching almost 600. The death toll was impossible to exactly determine due to the state of many of the bodies. Local buildings, including the high school gym, were used as a morgue in the process of identifying the bodies, and over 60 were never identified. All but one member of the Texas City Volunteer Firefighting Department was killed in the first explosion. 3 days after the disaster, a memorial service was held in the Texas City High School football stadium. Over 1,000 people attended the ceremony, and people from all over the nation sent their condolences in the form of flowers and cards. The Texas City disaster received media attention from all over the country as national fundraising efforts were made. The city raised over $1 million, which went toward the rebuilding and healing of Texas City. But no amount of rebuilding can cover the scars of the Texas City disaster of 1947 and the lives that were lost in the disaster. However, Texas will forever hold in its heart those whose lives were suddenly cut short by the industrial flame that keeps our country burning bright.